I started. I made the decision to run in 2012.
Okay.
I ran in 2014, and when I made that decision, my decision was based on the fact of winning an election. So whether our revolution, Bernie Sanders, the DCCC, whomever, whether they decide to add me to their list or not, the intensity and the fervor in which I pursue the progressive causes in which we bang for will not decrease. As a matter of fact, it will intensify because they will only be how much individual influence that I will have versus collectively. So either way, like you said, I'm in this to win it, and it's not about me. I didn't get in this for me in the first place. I want to win for people for a change.
There it is, first class. Hey, real quick, for everybody who doesn't know, this is Jesse T. Smith. He's running for Congress in the 3rd District, right, Jesse?
3rd District of Alabama.
3rd District of Alabama. JT for Congress. Look him up. Look him up. He's a brilliant man. He's a soldier. He's out here getting it. Check him out on Twitter. He is smashing them. I'm sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
Oh no. Hey, look, this is just, I'm just honored to be able to run for office. Number one, that we've gotten to the point to where African Americans can actually run for office without, all of this negativity coming at them. I mean, it's a blessing every time I step, I step out of my house. I talk with people. It's the American dream for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and I say that simply because I want to put this into context a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Please do.
While serving in the military, when you go overseas, one thing you are not sure of is whether or not you're going to come back. So
that's true.
When your wheels on your airplane goes up, you've written a blank check to the United States of America, and all of the passion and emotion that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm out of the military, I can't just throw those sacrifices away. I have to, I'm going to double down on those sacrifices, because now I can actually fight for or either fight against the that have created these unnecessary wars and that have perpetuated a state of unrest in the region. Hey, this is the Army, the United States government trained me to do this. I'm good at what I do, and cool. I'm just bringing this to the people.
Right. Right. I was just thinking about something that you just said about, the fact that we have African Americans, we have Black people who can even run for office, who can even vote for each other running for office, right? Recently a federal court judge had struck down like certain sections of the North Carolina. I mean, Wisconsin had some stuff struck down, North Carolina and North Dakota. And the
thank goodness
Supreme Court actually slapped North Carolina back, and because they appealed that decision, and they're not going to be. I was just reading earlier, they're not going to be able to enforce those provisions. Some of the worst provisions of recent voter ID laws that were passed in North Carolina recently. So I mean, and that's just in time for this upcoming election. And we just look at it's 3 years since the Supreme Court since they gutted the VRA. And we do have such an important election cycle. This is the first presidential election cycle since the 2013 decision that we won't have the protection of Section 5. And now we're seeing all these cases come through the system. And I know in Alabama, Alabama made news last year with the DMV closures. And the difficulty, because as most of you know, DMVs, that's such an easy way for people to be able to not only register to vote, but you need ID, right? Because if you need ID to vote, you got to get to a DMV.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those closures were overwhelmingly affecting African American communities. So there's just so much at stake. And it's not that I'm one to say that, we got to vote for the Black guy, but at the same time, I think to stand by and support good candidates who are also of color is really important, because that helps us increase representation in the political process.
Yeah, long overdue.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the voting rights in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they require, voter ID, and they close or threaten to close 38 facilities that issue those voter IDs, we're really trying to make sure people are involved in the process. You're basically restricting them from the process. And if we really consider and think about what's really happening in North Carolina and Alabama and across the country, is we have a lot of Republican legislatures that are basically being fed these model pieces of legislation for voter ID. Absolutely. So, until we actually get the individuals we actually need a new turnover of people running for office. People,
that's where it starts.
That's the bottom line, and I can tell you right here on your show that I'm actively recruiting people here in the 3rd District to run for city council. We're planning to challenge every Republican in every seat, challenge them with a progressive that's fighting, whether we win or not. We're planning to fight for each one of them. And that's the only way we'll be able to turn the electorate out.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse,
2014 they were.
I'm sorry. I don't want. We can't.
I'm losing you there a little bit, bro.
Over that for that project to work, huh?
So we lost you for a little bit.
Okay. Please tell the folks what kind of help you need. Do you need boots on the ground, money? What do you need? Let's talk to the folks and see if we can get some help to you now down there in the 3rd District. And I'm gonna be some boots on the ground myself. I'm gonna come down and check you out.
That's great. Well, you said we definitely need people on the ground. We need who are willing to donate rides and different other things to volunteers, because the bottom line is, if we want to have politicians and people in office who are not beholding to the special interests in these big corporations, well, as citizens, we have to, and I really give Bernie Sanders all the credit for this, but I give him a great deal of credit for letting people see the importance of small contributions.
Absolutely.
Chip in, and that's the message that I'd like to continue to drive forward. I cannot compete with my opponent in fundraising. He's already surpassed $1 million already. But what we can do, what we can do is we can continue to move forward aggressively, making his money null and void. It's a null and void because there's nothing that's on the receiving end. There's no message on the end of it. The few dollars, the $7,000 that we have raised, spent our qualification fee, well, with less than $10,000 here in the 3rd District.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't know you were doing all that down there, Jesse. We need to. Well, this is one of the things we may need to talk about, replicating that, Anoa.
Well, we should, and actually, we were talking because I know this was last minute. So again, Jesse.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jesse. That's on me.
Because this was last minute. Because we all of a sudden, Ben asked me to host. I'm like, okay, great. All this news happened, but then we also had another election day, even though it was a small primary day, but it was. In some ways, the Florida races were in some ways kind of symbolic for a lot of people when we talk about, the next phases of this movement. But so I really wanted to talk about, kind of where do we go from here type of thing in terms of all the different campaigns and elections we're all working around. And then Mike was like, well, let's bring in Jesse if he's available. I'm like, yeah, Jesse's awesome. Let's bring in Jesse. So Jesse, we definitely want to do something more with you. Beyond this, because like I think I tweeted out maybe a couple of days ago, I'm in Atlanta, so I'm not too far away, so whatever we could do to help, seriously, to get you the support
road trip.
We might need to. I might need to bring in Stacey Hopkins and bring her on down, and we do something, do a weekend trip or something, because I really do think that what you said is absolutely right. Bernie Sanders gave us the example, right? He showed us that we can get out there and we can do. You can stand on your convictions. You can be about what you say you're about, and people, if they come together, we can make something happen. And I know folks are upset because it's hard to get over that establishment hurdle, but it's not impossible.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's hard, but it's not impossible. We have to keep trying, and we gotta.
I'm excited. I'm excited about Team Jesse. I'm sorry. I'm excited.
We need shirts. Do you have shirts?
TeamJesse.com. Yeah.
Man, look, let me tell you. Look, I have a motorcycle event that I'm gonna be riding in. I mean, I'm doing things here that the average politician will not do because this is coming from a leader versus someone who's trying to perceive and act like a leader. This is fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, Jesse. All right, hey, like I said, folks, please check. What's your website, Jesse? We're not cutting you off or nothing. I'm just asking. What's your website? Let people know.
JesseSmithForCongress.com. Just that simple.
JesseSmithForCongress.com, folks.